Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet Nasta Praishvabhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Utama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtuki. Okay, we're reading this morning from chapter 5 of the second canto, continuing our study from last semester. We're going to be studying the second and third canto this semester. So second canto is one of the shortest in Srimad Bhagavatam, only 10 chapters, I believe. And this is a conversation between Narada Muni and his father, Lord Brahma, his spiritual father. Sri Narada Muni asks Brahmaji, O chief amongst the demigods, O firstborn living entity, I beg to offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Please tell me that transcendental knowledge which specifically directs one to the truth of the individual and the super soul. So now can we read ladies' side, men's side, one verse each? We'll read about 20 verses this morning.
My dear Father, please describe factually the symptoms of this manifest world. What is its background? How is it created? How is it conserved? And under whose control is all this being done?
My dear Father, all this is known to you scientifically, because whatever was created in the past, whatever will be created in the future, or whatever is being created at present, as well as everything within the universe, is within your grip, just like a walnut.
My dear Father, what is the source of your knowledge? Under whose protection are you standing? And under whom are you working? What is your real position? Do you alone create all entities with material elements by your personal energy?
As the spider very easily creates the network of its cobweb and manifests its power of creation without being defeated by others, so also you, yourself, by employment of your self-sufficient energy, create without any other help.
Whatever we can understand by the nomenclature, characteristics, and features of a particular thing, superior, inferior, or equal, eternal, or temporary, is not created from any source other than that of your Lordship, though so great.
Yet we are moved to wonder about the existence of someone more powerful than you when we think of your great austerities and perfect discipline. Although your good self is so powerful in the matter of creation.
Narada is praising Brahma. Says how very tactful he is. You're so powerful, and yet is there somebody more powerful?
My dear Father, you know everything and you are the control of all. Therefore, may all that I have inquired from you be kindly instructed to me so that I may be able to understand it as a student.
Lord Brahma said, My dear boy Narada, being merciful to all, including me, you have asked all these questions because I have been inspired to see into the prowess of the Almighty Personality of Godhead.
Whatever you have spoken about me is not false, because unless and until one is aware of the personality of Godhead, who is the ultimate truth beyond me, one is sure to be illusioned by observing my powerful activities.
I create after the Lord's creation by his personal effulgence, known as Brahma Jyoti. Just as when the sun manifests its fire, the moon, the firmament, the influential planets, and the twinkling stars also manifest their brightness.
I offer my obeisances and meditate upon Lord Krishna, Vasudeva, the personality of Godhead, whose invincible potency influences them, the less intelligent class of men, to call me the Supreme Controller.
The illusionary energy of the Lord cannot take the precedence, being ashamed of her position. But those who are bewildered by her always take nonsense, being absorbed in thoughts of it is I and it is mine.
The five elements, the five elementary ingredients of creation, the interaction thereof set up by eternal time, and the intuition or nature of the individual living beings are all differentiated parts and parcels of the personality of Godhead, Vasudev. And in truth, there is no other value in them.
The Vedic literatures are made by and are meant for the Supreme Lord. The demigods are also meant for serving the Lord as parts of his body. The different planets are also meant for the sake of the Lord, and different sacrifices are performed just to please him.
All different types of meditation or mysticism are means for realizing Narayan. All austerities are aimed at achieving Narayan. Culture of transcendental knowledge is for getting a glimpse of Narayan. And ultimately, salvation is entering the kingdom of Narayan.
Inspired by him only, I discover what is already created by him, Narayan, under his vision as the all-pervading supersoul, and I also am created by him only.
The Supreme Lord is pure, spiritual form, transcendental to all material activities. Yet, for the sake of creation of material world and its maintenance and annihilation, he accepts through his external energy the material modes of nature called goodness, passion, and ignorance.
These three modes of material nature, being further manifested as matter, knowledge, and activities, put the eternally transcendental living entity under conditions of cause and effect and make him responsible for such activities.
O Brahmana Narada, the superseer, the transcendent Lord, is beyond the perception of the material senses of living entities because the above mentioned three modes of nature. But he is the controller of everyone, including me.
Check. So back to verse 16, please. So here's the essential conversation. It's Narada is asking his father, please give me some spiritual instruction. Because you're the greatest. You're the greatest, and yet there might be somebody a little better than you. And then Brahma is very emphatic. Oh yes, I'm just a tiny reflection. Krishna is like the sun, and just as the sun enlightens all the other bodies of within our vision. So I'm getting whatever power I have from Krishna. And now we'll go into more depth. It's a very difficult verse to memorize, so don't even try. So many complex words. Narayana Paro Yogo. Narayana Param Tapa. Narayana Param Jnanam. Narayana Paragati. Narayana Paro Yogo. Narayana Param Tapa. Narayana Param Jnanam. Narayana Paragati. Let's check. Narayana Parayo. Narayana Param. Narayana Param Jnanam. Narayana Paragati. Narayana Parayogo. Narayana Param Tapa. Narayana Param Jnanam. Narayana Paragati. Narayana Parayogo. Narayana Param Tapa. Narayana Param Jnanam. Narayana Paragati. Narayana Paro Yogo. Narayana Param Tapa. Narayana Param Jnanam. Narayana Param Ti. Anyone else? Narayana Paro Yogo. Narayana Param Tapa. Narayana Param Jnanam. Narayana Paragati. Synonyms together, please. Narayana Para, just to know Narayan. Yoga. Narayana Param, just to achieve Narayan. Tapa, austerity. Narayana Param, just to realize a glimpse of Narayan. Jnana, culture of transcendental knowledge. Narayana Para, path of salvation ends by entering the kingdom of Narayan. Iti, progressive path. Who would like to read the purport? Anyone know how to read? Okay. Okay, I don't know your name. Leanna, you please go ahead. Purport, yeah.
In meditation, there are two systems of yoga, namely Ashtanga Yoga and Sankhya Yoga. Ashtanga Yoga is practice in concentrating the mind, releasing oneself from all engagements by the regulated processes of meditation, concentration, sitting postures, blocking the movements of the internal circulation of air, etc. Sankhya Yoga is meant to distinguish the truth from ephemerals. But ultimately, both systems are meant for realizing the impersonal Brahman, which is but a partial representation of Narayan, the personality of Godhead. As we have explained before, the impersonal Brahman effulgence is only a part of the personality of Godhead. Impersonal Brahman is situated on the person of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and as such, Brahman is the glorification of the personality of the Godhead. This is confirmed both in the Bhagavad Gita and in the Matsya Purana. Gati refers to the ultimate destination, or the last word in liberation. Oneness with the impersonal Brahmayoti is not ultimate liberation. Superior to that is the sublime association of the personality of Godhead in one of the innumerable spiritual planets in the Vaikuntha sky. Therefore, the conclusion is that Narayan, or the personality of Godhead, is the ultimate destination for all kinds of yoga systems, as well as all kinds of liberation.
So this verse extends from the previous verse also. I'm just going to say quickly, Narayan, did you flip that? 8 to 15? To 15. Yes. So he said, Narayana Para Veda. Narayan's the goal of the Vedas. Deva Narayanam Gajaha. The demigods are meant for serving him. Narayana Para Loka. The different planets are meant for the sake of the Lord. And Narayana Para Maka. What is Maka? You know? Sacrifices. Sacrifices. Okay. So then today's verse. All types of meditation or mysticism are means for realizing Narayan. Austerities are aimed for him. Culture of knowledge is aimed for him. And salvation, ultimately, ultimate goal of life is Nara. Nara means people, right? And Ayana, I understand, means shelter. So Narayana, the shelter of everyone. And this is Lord Brahma's answer when he's glorified as being the supreme, as being the greatest, even though he's a great personality. He's the head of our sampradaya. But the reason he's great is because he knows Narayana is the goal of everything. Sometimes we have this conundrum in spiritual life. I'm making so much advancement. I'm so humble. How do we reconcile actual advancement with humility? Well, this is the answer, that all credit is given to the superior. This is why that Lord Brahma is able to take this effusive praise from his son and disciple Narada and not become affected by it. No, it's all Krishna. Krishna is doing everything. So Lord Brahma is the head of our sampradaya, the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya, this line of teachers in which Srila Prabhupada has come, because of this qualification, because he recognizes Narayan. When Lord Chaitanya was traveling in South India, he discovered in one of the temples an ancient book written by Lord Brahma, which dates back to the beginning of the universe, the Brahma Samhita. Lord Brahma, being the first created being, gained his realization and power to create by saying Lord Krishna. This is, I think we already read this in the earlier chapters, I think, second canto. Anyway, Brahma did his meditation, his austerity, and then saw Krishna face to face, and Krishna walked over and did what? Anyone remember? He shook his hand, yeah. Like, oh, good to see you. Welcome to the universe now. You're going to fill it up for me. And he gave him all the power and the knowledge and ability to do that. So in his great appreciation for Lord Krishna, Lord Brahma wrote this text, the Brahma Samhita. And Lord Chaitanya found just one chapter of it. All the others have been lost in antiquity. But Lord Chaitanya found this one chapter, which we have, 29 verses? Something like that. And of course we sing these two. Govinda Mari Purusham Tamham Jam. Venum Konvantam, Vinda Dalayataksham. These verses describe the beauty of the spiritual world. It's interesting how Lord Brahma, when he was able to complete his austerity, saw Lord Krishna, Lord Narayan, and then he saw the spiritual world. And what was the spiritual world? It was full of trees and flowers and cows and very bucolic rural environments. Venum Konvantam, Vinda Dalayataksham. Chintamani Prakara Sadhmati Vriksha Lakshabhiteshu. There's thousands of goddesses of fortune, and everything is made out of touchstone, beautiful jewelry. And Krishna is playing his flute, Venum Konvantam, and looking so dazzling and beautiful. So he describes this whole scene. And then you might remember from the Krishna book, from the 10th canto, where Lord Brahma, seeing the little cowherd boy Krishna, not the majestic Krishna in the spiritual world, the little cowherd boy down there killing Aghasura, and wondered, is this really the same person? So how did he test Krishna? He took away all his friends and cows. That's right. And of course, Krishna outsmarted him, as you know, by creating exact duplicates. But when Brahma saw this, he was again mystified. And when he saw all the replacement boys exactly like the ones he'd just taken, he was absolutely bewildered. And then he saw that each of those boys was manifesting as Vishnu, his worshipable Lord. And so again, he was mystified. But when he came down and touched the earth, he again saw the same bucolic environment that he'd seen when he first went Krishna. That is Vrindavan. He saw again the beautiful rural environment of the cows and the gopis and the gopas and Krishna there enjoying everything. So then he could understand what a big mistake he had made. So although the demigods don't touch earth, they're too elevated. Brahma not only touched earth, but put his head down and spoke beautiful, beautiful prayers of apology to Lord Krishna. These are all described in chapter 14 of the 10th canto, the prayers of Lord Brahma. And this was the first chapter that was done after Srila Prabhupada's disappearance, translated by his disciples. Full of very famous, beautiful verses like Tat te nukam pam susamikshramano, the motto of all devotees. Lord Brahma is saying that when we go through difficulties, we have to realize that first of all, we're responsible. Don't blame other people as the agents of our karma. We are suffering our own reactions in spite of what some jerk did to us. It's not the jerk, we're the jerk. And then there is the determination, therefore, to continue my service in spite of these difficulties. So recognize I'm responsible, I'm going to continue anyway. And what's the third affirmation from this verse? Anyone remember?
says that you become eligible for liberation because it's your rightful claim.
You do become eligible by doing what? That's kind of referring to continuing your devotion in spite of the difficulties. What is the third one? And do you remember? Okay, that's sort of the cherry on top. Yeah, that's the carrot. Yes, you are expecting Krishna to be merciful. I'm going through difficulty, but I know I'm responsible, not all these other fools, and that I'm going to continue anyway, and I expect fully Krishna will be merciful to us. There's a mantra some of my friends and I like to share. A year from today, we'll be smiling. Even though it's tough right now, a year from today, we'll be smiling. So, yes, we're expecting Krishna's mercy. This, Lord Brahma says, is how a devotee deals with difficult situations. Those three things. So please always remember those three things. Take responsibility, continue your service, and expect Krishna's mercy. Then you can go through anything. So this is just one of the beautiful prayers Lord Brahma offers. And afterwards, he's touching his head to earth, very humble position. But afterwards, what does Krishna do? After hearing all this whole chapter of beautiful prayers, anyone remember what does Krishna do? He says, all right. He doesn't even say a word, he just waves him off. You can go now. And anyone remember why like when Lord Indra attacked Vrindavan, he came down and apologized, and Krishna had some dialogue with him. Krishna had no dialogue with Lord Brahma. You want to remember what? That's all right, yeah. Okay.
Brahma took Krishna's devotee apart from him, and Indra brought them together.
Yes, exactly. All the devotees came together under Govardhan, and Krishna liked that. But when Brahma took the devotees away, Krishna did not like that. So interestingly, this chapter of the 10th canto is not accepted by the followers of Madhvacharya, because to them, Lord Brahma is a very important deity. He's important to all Vaishnavas, but for them particularly. So they say, it's not possible Brahma could have done this. But we see in several places in Srimad Bhagavatam where Brahma has to be kind of corrected. But in this chapter, he's being properly respected and worshipped. So Narayana himself, Krishna himself, is the only one who is infallible, the only deity, the only personality of Godhead, therefore the supreme personality of Godhead. All the other avatars of Krishna are empowered in various ways, but they are not complete. Only Krishna is complete. Only Krishna is the reservoir of all qualities and all abilities. So therefore this verse is saying whatever we do, whatever our spiritual pursuits may be, Krishna is the goal. Now, the purport talks a lot about Brahman realization. Prabhupada refers to both the Bhagavad Gita and to the Matsya Purana, and saying that that Brahman is coming from Krishna. Now, before we talk about that philosophically, let's talk about it practically, because personally, I've met few, if any, people in my life who are saying, my goal in life is to realize Brahman. How does it manifest more commonly if you don't know this nomenclature of Brahman? What is the attitude that people have that reflects this same philosophy?
This is actually what you meant, but I was going to say, just in like New Age spiritualist circles and yoga scene, the aphorism is usually all is one, and in that sense, there's this idea of spiritual conclusion should be that we should just lose our identity.
Yes, we want to merge. We want to, and that's again in the New Age circles. How about in a more like common parlance? Yeah.
This also kind of, but there's a concept of that we live every single life around us. So that's kind of impersonal. Yeah.
Okay, we share an existence with everybody.
Yeah, there's a universal consciousness.
of which we're all part.
Yeah.
That's definitely there in the New Age scene. In a more foundational sense, it's like I can do things by myself. I don't need anybody. I don't need anybody. I'm perfectly capable of understanding reality all by myself. That's more or less common philosophy, isn't it? People are generally thinking that. Sometimes people subscribe to this religion or that philosophy, but still the foundation is I don't need anybody. This is impersonalism. I want to be self-contained. And why? Prabhupada explains in the Gita in chapter 4, Vita Raga Bhaya Krodha, verse 10, this purport. He says that people are afraid of a spiritual relationship because they've been so fried by all their other relationships that they've ever had. Everyone is disappointed. Therefore, I don't want another relationship. I want to be self-contained. And this is impersonalism. So in this way, even if it's not Brahma Jyoti or being one with everything, everyone is still more or less under the impersonal point of view in life. So specifically now the philosophy, Brahma Jyoti. Jyoti means light, the spiritual light that emanates from the body of Krishna. Does anyone remember the verse in the Gita that Prabhupada is referring to in the purport where Krishna says he's the basis of the Brahman? Shloka slingers. Remember this one? Brahmano hi pratisht aham. Tisht means foundational. Brahmana hi pratisht aham. I'm the basis of Brahman, Krishna says, very emphatically. And so many people interpret Bhagavad Gita as being, let's all be one. And yet Krishna is saying, I'm the basis of this oneness. It's coming from me. So then this other reference, the Matsya Purana. The Matsya Purana is the oldest of the Puranas. It's a little shorter than Srimad Bhagavatam, 14,000 verses as opposed to 18,000. There's one reference in the Matsya Purana which Srila Prabhupada quotes in a purport in the 6th canto. And in that purport, he explains, or in that quote rather, it's explained that living entities, as living entities, we are all part of the Brahma Jyoti. But we're not liberated because we don't have that platform of spiritual awareness. So even though that's our constitutional position, it's who we are, part of the effulgent light coming from Krishna. When the universe is annihilated, we all go to sleep and we re-enter his that spiritual existence of Krishna, but in a sleeping state. And then again, when the universe is created, because of our desires, we get another material body. So even though we're entering, in effect, the body of Krishna by this, at the time of annihilation, we're not liberated because we don't have awareness of it. So we go back and reassume our fruitive activities because of the conditioning that we haven't shed yet. So this is how the Brahman is an opulence of Krishna, all the countless living entities that manifest from him. That's just this glory of Krishna, but it's his the least of his glories, you could say. It is the impersonal idea, it's the most remote from Krishna. In the Nectar of Devotion, the discussion about how bhakti manifests in our lives in the early chapters of the Nectar of Devotion, one of the qualities of bhakti or symptoms of bhakti is that it derives even the concept of liberation. Remember this? Derives even the concept of liberation. Let's unpack that for a minute. What does that mean? That for a devotee, there's no longer an interest in just me. Now I'm interested in Krishna, because by channeling my energy to Krishna instead of myself, I become happy. Whereas channeling energy into myself, always trying to find happiness, has been a failure. It hasn't worked. Therefore, I'm going to just connect with Krishna. And therefore, the concept of liberation, my own freedom, is surpassed. This idea of liberation, roughly means freedom. And as one politician once said, if people are given a choice of sandwiches or freedom, they'll take the sandwiches. In other words, we're given the choice of material enjoyment or spiritual liberation, we'll take the material enjoyment 99 out of 100 times. Manusianam sahasreshu. Most everybody will take the sandwiches. So what we're talking about is taking the Krishna lunch. We are talking about offering ourselves, our lives, our love, our service to Krishna instead of trying to collect love from everybody else, trying to collect admiration, money, fame, what have you. We're not interested in that. And we're not even interested in getting free of attachments. That's a byproduct. That's a byproduct of devotional service. Anyone remember the verse from chapter 2 of the first canto on this point? And by rendering service to Krishna, two things come automatically. Masika?
Yes, causeless knowledge.
Yes, causeless knowledge and detachment. Right. Vasudevi Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita Janayat Yasu Vairagyam Yanam Chayat Ahaitikam. Causelessly, without effort, knowledge and detachment come just from trying to please Krishna. Such a simple thing. Such a simple thing. So the whole idea of being liberated, being freed of problems, being freed of distress, being freed of bad relationships, that whole idea of wanting to be happy on our own is just, it's just transcended. It gets in the rearview mirror because we found this new source of happiness. And because we know how to be happy in devotion to Krishna, this miserable world becomes a joyful place. It is amazing, isn't it? Everyone's trying to find their happy place, you know, and traveling to the ends of the earth to find it, right? But for the devotee, Vishva Purnam Sukhayate, this whole universe looks really nice because we know the effort, we know this, we know what to do with it. We want to use it for Krishna. Then it's, okay, everything looks very promising. During the break, I took a yoga class, and the teacher was saying, okay, now make your minds like a clear blue sky. Make your mind, so that struck me. That's like a nice meditation. Make your mind, get rid of the clouds, just make it like a clear blue sky. Then I was thinking, okay, so even if you have a clear blue sky, if you don't know where you're going, it doesn't help very much. You don't know it's a nice day. I'm lost, but it's a beautiful day. I have no idea what to do with myself, but it's a beautiful day. It's a great day to be lost. Therefore, the mind can't remain clear and blue. It again descends into anxiety, uncertainty. So bhakti is that GPS. It shows us what to do, whether it's clear or not. Because the mind is very fickle. You can clear it for about 30 seconds, and then, right, as Krishna explains in the Gita. But that's all right if we just keep coming back to the point of pleasing Krishna. Such a simple philosophy. So liberation is included, austerity is included. People think that it's so austere to be a devotee. And in a way it is compared to ordinary people. I'm from New Mexico, and we have a saying out there that in the desert, a tumbleweed is a big tree. So we do a little austerity, but in the desert it looks like, whoa, you don't eat meat? You don't drink? Okay, what do you smoke? You don't smoke? Whoa. But these things are so easy for us. They're just so easy because Jnanam Chayat, Janaya Yasu Vairagyam. Renunciation is just a byproduct. It's easy because serving Krishna is so much fun. It's so pleasing and fulfilling and satisfying. Renunciation, who wants to do these things that are just going to pollute my consciousness? You know? And so my friend Rabindra Swarupa was, he wrote this beautiful story about going to a Catholic seminary, and he would go every year and give a lecture, and the rector of the seminary would meet him at the door and greet him very nicely, and then they'd walk past always walked past a certain display that had Hindu artifacts on it. And one of the Hindu artifacts was a bed of nails. Like yogis would lie on this to show their prowess. And so when the rector would walk Ravindra past us, he'd always kind of like give him this little look like, in my religion, we don't have to do this. So people think that the whole goal of being a devotee is austerity, right? But it's just, no. Narayana Paro Tapa. Narayana is the pleasing Krishna. That's the goal of all austerity. People do all kinds of austerities. What is the goal? Generally to get a degree or to get some recognition or to get some kind of material benefit. But no, the goal of austerity is pleasing Krishna. And our austerities are very few and very simple. We just do them and so that we can please Krishna. These regulative principles are just things we can't offer to Krishna. Just about everything else you can offer to Krishna. You know, I often talk with devotees who are going through, development of their spiritual lives. So in the beginning, it's a big step to follow the regulative principles. So that really takes a lot of concentration and focus. And then after some time, it gets kind of part of your DNA, if you're fortunate and you just keep at it. It's just easy. It's no longer a distraction. And then devotees are confronted by this. Oh, and being in the ashram is great for this purpose, to kind of get up to speed. And then in most cases, people are entering then out into the battlefield of the material world. So how do you keep your renunciation when you're going out and dealing with materialistic energy and people and situations? So that the attention to detail you need in the ashram doesn't continue throughout that transition. In other words, if you're fixed in the regulative principles, you can do just about anything for Krishna, whether it's working in a job or traveling or doing this or that. Raising a family, very entangling thing to raise a family. Mundane, diapers, money, all these things. But you can deal with them without losing your basic Krishna consciousness. You can deal with challenging jobs. You can deal with dealing with all non-devotees all day and night. If so long as you recognize I'm keeping my principles, and to refresh myself, I need to immerse in the association of devotees on a regular basis. And my true, intimate, confidential friends are those who understand my spiritual goals. I can make friends with people. This is another thing. People say, "Oh, I can't make any friends with these karmis." Like, you shake hand with the karmi. No, you can't. That's not necessary. You gotta shake hands like Krishna shook hands with Brahma, and you gotta be a real person. It's said that if you, when you first move in the temple, you become a pure devotee, and if you stay long enough, you become a human being. In other words, devotees don't have to be afraid to just be themselves and deal with the world, and just so long as you have that foundation in bhakti, and you don't try to offer to Krishna things you can't offer to him. Very minimal austerity. This is all it takes to please Krishna. Just to stay in, what does it take to stay in Krishna consciousness? That's the question. What does it take to continue to meditate on Narayan and do austerity for Narayan and make the very goal of our life Narayan? One of the beautiful things, and I'll end with this point, about the material world is that Maya is on our side. You know this? Think about Maya as our enemy. She's not our enemy. She's our friend. Why is she our friend? Because she's a great teacher. She is beating us over the head again and again and again, so that we are convinced I do not want to take birth again in this material world. And that is her great mercy. The acharyas preach by teaching, and Maya preaches by pounding us on the head. But the mission is the same. So no need to be at odds with Maya. She's doing her service for Krishna. All right, I'll stop there. Any comments, reflections, questions? Go ahead, Rihanna, and then Radhika.
Just a comment on how Maya is our friend. I heard a pastime where the gopis said, "Love matures in darkness, matures best in darkness," and Maya provides that darkness for our love to mature so we can better love Krishna.
Very nice. So we're not seeing Krishna in the material world increases our desire to see him. What does Lord Chaitanya say? Anyone remember at this point? Gayitam Namishena. Yes, every moment seems like 12 years in your separation. My eyes are flooding with tears, and the whole universe looks empty without you. Radhika? Stephen?
You mentioned when we're going through difficulty, 3 things that we can do. One of them you said expecting Krishna's mercy. And usually when I think, like my mindset is that we shouldn't expect Krishna's mercy, whatever he does, it's fine. That should be the aim. We shouldn't expect anything. So how should we approach it? How do we expect that?
That when we're in pain, we are expecting by Krishna's grace we're going to be better. We will get through this, we'll get past this. Just having that mindset as opposed to, oh, I'm suffering so much. Yes, I'm suffering, but I know that Krishna is putting me through this for his own purposes. That's cold comfort when we're really in pain. It doesn't immediately end the pain, but it does give us the direction that we can keep going. That gives us a reason to keep going. What we want to avoid is giving up our practice. And this is the traditional conundrum that a religious or spiritual person faces when they're in difficulty. How can God do this to me? I've been such a good boy. I've been such a good girl. Why is God doing this to me? Isn't it? It's like a knee-jerk reaction to suffering. So what this is saying, Radhika, is that no, I expect Krishna's mercy. Krishna is helping me for something better in the future. And it's amazing how over time, when you go through difficult situations, you always see at the end, oh yes, this Krishna was doing this to me for some reason, for this particular reason. I have a story about that, but let's go on somewhere. Rasika Prabhu, did you want to?
One of the lessons of that pastime with Lord Brahma and the cowherd boys is that one of the ways that the mercy of the Lord comes to us is by those very troubles themselves, because we ask him, please give me pure devotion. Well, one of the primary ways that he does that, well, of course, it's hearing and chanting is the primary way, but he wants us to continuously make a new choice from what we've been choosing for lifetime after lifetime. So those struggles are designed to show us what it is that we need to continue to let go of in order to embrace him. And that's the fundamental difference between impersonalism and personalism. Yes. Impersonalism is made up of religious processes, whereas personalism is recognizing that reality is relationship.
Thank you. All right, we had Nana, Radhika, and Rasika. Now let's go on alphabetically to Stephen.
Krishna Prabhu. So I noticed when we got back from our yatra in Vrindavan, we were in the JFK airport and the Orlando airport. I was like, oh my God, all this Maya, these stores and these restaurants, and none of them are vegetarian, and no one's saying Radhe Radhe or Hare Krishna. And it's like, I was really like appalled by it. Like, I was like, oh my God, this place sucks. But you were saying that a devotee is able to see the material world as a good place because we can use it to serve Krishna. So I was just wondering if you could share some advice on how we can cultivate that mindset of like being in the airport and seeing all of these like shops and things and misleading activities, how to be able to see it more positively.
Opportunity. So much opportunity for spreading Krishna consciousness. It is a tremendous challenge to spread Krishna consciousness in this part of the world. And that's one of the beauties of going to India, isn't it, that you see not only is the inherent consciousness there in the tradition, but people will be much more attracted to it more readily. You know, people will come for a kirtan by the hundreds, you know, and if it's prasadam will come by the thousands, without much prodding. But America, North America, Europe, China, it's very difficult because there's for every one person who's interested in Krishna, there's 100,000 who are interested in the shops, right? So our task, our very challenging task, is to sift through this massive humanity and find those rare souls who can hear and understand that the goal of life is not the shop. Yeah. Another thing is that, again, you can see that shop, unless it's like Beef O'Brady's or something. You can see, how can I use this place in Krishna service? How can I engage this place in Krishna service? And practically everything can be engaged. In fact, my famous godbrother Jayananda Prabhu used to go into the bars in San Francisco to round up volunteers for making the Rath Yatra carts. And when he took his temple president down to the site, and he said, I want you to meet some of my friends. They walked into a bar. They all said, hey, Jayananda. Said that even if you see Lord Nityananda going into a bar, he's going in there for preaching. So therefore, this is my point. You don't need to be afraid of Maya or overwhelmed by Maya. Just understand that my intention to serve Krishna does not have to be affected by this. My intention to serve Krishna is independent of all of this. In his prayer, Markine Bhagavat Dharma, Srila Prabhupada wrote when he was arriving in the Jaladuta, North America. Markine means what? You know? It's Bengali for America. Markine Bhagavat Dharma. So how am I going to preach Bhagavat Dharma in America? And he starts off his prayer with saying, Krishna, I don't know why you brought me to this terrible place. But you must have some purpose. And I know that your words can enliven the hearts of even these people who are covered by the modes of nature. So we may not be powerful enough to overcome all this Maya, but Maya Dakshena Prakriti, Suyate Sacharacharam. Krishna it's his energy, so he can easily overcome it, as can one who is intent on serving him. So like that. There's no reason to be afraid of it. No reason to be overwhelmed by it. Just say, okay, here's an opportunity to engage some of this material energy in Krishna service. I'm very tiny. Maybe I can just engage a few ounces, but and whatever it is, I know Krishna will help. And Krishna is powerful enough to turn all of these shops into whatever, prasadam restaurants, sari emporiums, incense, essential oil, what have you, tea lock emporiums. You see these things in Vrindavan, right? I think you all went to Jaipur on this trip. One of the most amazing things when I saw in visiting Jaipur was that there's this whole section of town with hundreds of shops devoted to deities. Remember, did you see that? You've heard about that? Yeah, it's just like, how in the world can there be so much demand for deities? So Rajasthan has like got a lot of marble, apparently. So traditionally, it's a big. And it's like shop after shop of deities, deities, and deities, row after row after street after block, only deity shops. It is really nice. So, all right, anything else? Okay, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Mahaprasad ki jai. I don't know what you're. Anyone that pops up is fine. Mahaprasade Govinde Namo Brahmane Vaishnave Rajan Vishvashanaya Vajayate. Fortunate persons develop faith in Mahaprasad, the spiritual food remnants of the Lord, in the deity of Sri Govinda, Supreme Personality of Godhead, Transcendental Krishna Nam, and in the Vaishnavas. Nate, thank you for filling in. When does Vitai get back?